yours. Go for it. Starkerz has the controls.
Yo.
To go, Dan?
I'm good to go.
Good. Yo, how's it going all? We decided to combine HiveFest with episode 12 of Community Token Talk, which we publish every Friday. Dan's Hive account at theycallmedan. So tune in for the weekly dates and everything that we're doing there. I just want to start by reading you a really interesting conversation that I just had with Dan behind the scenes. Don't worry, it's nothing conspiratorial. It's just kind of sums up the world that we're living in at the moment and the AltspaceVR. So here it goes. Dan said, "Nice. These punks are cool. Nice work on art. This guy is just staring at me, lol. This is the green room. We go there in about 10 minutes. Haha, Roland flying. Okay, there is a portal for me that ports me to the main stage. Lol, reading this back makes it sound like you're on drugs, right? This is like where we are right now. So welcome to the new world, I guess. So in this talk, we want to give you a brief outline of what we think is important about Web3 tech and how we make it sustainable, unregulatable, free for everyone to use and kind of create and manifest freedom on blockchain and hopefully then freedom in reality as a result. So we're going to talk about the important things there, and then we're going to go into a little bit about a couple of partnerships we've got with people like PeerPlays briefly. We'll talk about our schedule, and then maybe a little bit about a vision of how we see the world in the future and what we see this Hive ecosystem producing for the future of humanity, hopefully. So I'm going to switch the slides, and Dan's going to talk to us a little bit about the difference, what he sees between Web 2 and Web 3.
Yeah, we hear a lot of talk about Web 3 and really trying to understand what that is, because there's so many viewpoints and really none of them are right or wrong, because this is a new technology we're all going into. And I read a tweet recently, and it summed it up pretty well. It's not so much of a place, but a time. It's a paradigm. It's a crux where our digital lives become more important than our physical lives. We're online more and more. You're starting to see NFTs become more valuable than Rolexes. You're starting to see digital land become more valuable than physical land. And there's going to come a crux where that is a tipping point, and we really value Web3. And when you think about it, what I like to think about behind the scenes is who hosts the infrastructure. You think of Web 2, you have your Googles, your Twitters, your big Web 2, and they host all of the content and data for you, and they give you quote unquote free access. In order to make that sustainable, they monetize your data. And that's the Web 2 model. But when you think about Web 3, you think about community ownership, peer-to-peer infrastructure, the sharing economy, being able to fragment that giant data load into a community where every little bit is fractioned amongst many. So there's not one failure point. There's not one person that says, hey, I can delete all the data. Hey, I can control the system. And when you start getting into that territory where communities are earning NFTs and getting exposure and earning status just for contributing as a whole, you think about Airbnb. Everyone who had an extra bedroom now has a monetizable asset. Well, the sharing economy unlocks all of these hard drives, all of this extra bandwidth that we have. We have these incredible internet speeds. We have terabyte hard drives, and we use very little of it. When you make it easy to tap into that, then you're going to start to see really magical things happen when people can start contributing to the Web3 as a whole. Go to the next slide.
Yeah, so what do you reckon
talks
about the basis of all this, Dan? What do you reckon about like the base main fundamental components of it?
Peer-to-peer infrastructure. The main crux is the decentralized based account system, which is the next slide. And what this does is, if you think about, you go onto the Web2 legacy sites, the reason it's so difficult to switch, right? They might be doing something you don't like. Who knows what it is? But people will say, they'll groan. They'll say, I spent 5 years building my following here. I can't just port it over. I'm just going to put up with it. And, they just keep putting up with it. Web3 really flips that upside down by you owning the account, you owning the follower list, you owning all of that work that you put into. Now you go up to these sites and there's skins, like in a video game, right? If you got an ugly skin in a video game, you're not just going to wear it forever. You're going to switch it with ease, not even thinking about it. And that's what our sites are going to become. They're going to be skins in a video game where you're like, I don't like this front end. Let me just type in, hit enter, and now I'm in a completely different site, but I retain all of my status. All of my hard work is there. Once you have that, you start to really understand how powerful this becomes using technology like Hive that gives you that immutable base layer for the text and for the account. And then you can use ceramic technology, which is another great piece where you can have off-chain data, right? If you want to unload the masses, millions and millions of people, you're going to want to have a nice standardized off-chain solution to ease that onboarding process, because there's going to be congestion. RC's, going to be in high demand. It's going to be nice to have that off-chain subway that caters people into the blockchain ecosystem in a nice way. And then, of course, once we have this base account layer, off-chain, all of this is all set up and ready to go. We start approaching all kinds of websites. Hey, you're hosting your infrastructure in a siloed environment. You can join the peer-to-peer infrastructure. You can join the sharing economy, what we're calling Hive and the SPKNetwork. You can start monetizing that, getting your community involved, release yourself from being an attack vector, because we know the politics that comes with hosting a content media site. It's just, it's not worth it in terms of going that route for a business. It's more of an ideological, community-based, being able to preserve our natural rights. So, that's where I think the crux is that base layer that's neutral, and the rest I think falls into place as we scale, as we start to add all the features that people from Web 2 are looking for. And Matt, you want to tell us a bit about the incentive layer?
Yeah, but before we do that, I just want to make the point here on this slide that, as you can see, the top layer, you've got the PeakDs, the 3Speaks, the Excenses, and the other platforms. And the idea is that we can make, this is where the Speak network starts to come in, and we're building out the infrastructure to now invite other platforms and say to them, hey, that you guys are working on some kind of Web3 solution, or at least trying to decentralize yourselves. Do you want to try implementing the Speak network technology? It will save you a ton of engineering hours, and then you kind of run on, and you get all these Web3 features that you don't currently have, or at least you're spending hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars worth of engineering hours trying to build in a decentralized way yourselves. Well, here's a solution ready for you to plug in. So hopefully the Hive community can start approaching these people and educate them on what this is, and then eventually in the near future we'll start to have the tools that they can implement. Right. So the next kind of step on this is, with the Speak network coming in, we consider the Speak network to be an incentivization layer for Web3. So it's like, can we build a system whereby you can be rewarded for running various types of Web3 decentralized, truly decentralized infrastructure on node systems that are very, very easy to operate for your average user? Hopefully we can get a lot on people's local computers wherever possible, and then of course build node systems out where it's easy for people to plug in and play and do various different other types of valuable infrastructure operation for the network, and then receive rewards for that. This is a very similar model to the way Hive works, of course, except Hive is really good at text. It's got that account system built in, and it's kind of got a beautiful system that's been crafted over the last 4 or 5 years, and it really runs well in the specifics that it does. So what we're hoping is that the Speak network will become like a side system to this, to complement wherever Hive's lacking and things can't go on chain directly, and have operators that run infrastructure and do this in a decentralized way. And then the glue that sticks it all together is an incentivization system that effectively allows these people to be rewarded for the valuable work and value that they're providing to the network. With governance and with incentivizations and things like this. So the basis of the Speak network, this can be modified for any other network in theory, but the one that we're building out at the moment is the ability for people to encode, the ability for people to run content delivery networks from their own local nodes or servers, and then the ability for people to run validators to check the integrity of the system, and then the ability for people to host their own storage systems. You can do self-hosted storage, or you can store for other people on their behalf. And then if we can start getting those things incentivized, especially for the videos and the content that is longer term, people want to keep it up online more permanently, then you can start putting up bounties and incentives for that. And then the validators will go back and double check to make sure that the people who are hosting are actually hosting the content that they say that they're hosting, which is called proof of access mining. And so this is where we're kind of building the Speak Network towards, and hopefully it helps us create a free internet future where we remove those middlemen, Web 2 demons and controllers from the face of the internet, essentially.
Yeah, and if you think about how robust everyone's resources are, you're watching a video, you're starting to contribute, get status, and you barely feel it. Once that crux hits, you have millions of people storing little bits of data. That's going to be very powerful as we start to move in.
For sure.
That
So
brings
Dan,
us right into
do you want to the communities? Tell us a little bit about, so from that foundation, then got communities coming up and how these things are going to be important, how they can't be regulated and things like this.
Yeah, if you just think of that technology, just port a group of humans, a community right on top of it. Now they have everything they need to organize, sustain, and really keep their content up and monetize it in a way where no one entity can come in and say, no, we're going to block this, we're going to block that, we're going to delete this. And that's just going to be a different paradigm, and we're going to see what that brings. Breakaway communities, you think of this, you think of people who are just tired of centralized third parties that they're building their foundation on. Like, you don't have to be doing anything wrong to be like, man, I've been doing this for 5-10 years. What if they delete me? It's a possibility. It just is. And people are tired of living with that possibility when they don't need to. And, if you start to think of the great milkshake, as I call Web 2, where there's just all this attention, there's all this awareness. And if you think of Web 3 like your home, you're inviting people to this party that you're throwing, this Web 3 party. You treat Web 2, get that community while it's still intact, and make it immutable. Make that community breakaway. Make that community sustainable. And then before you know it, everyone's going to have to adapt, right? I don't condone anybody stealing brands or anything like this, but Web3 is going to be a different beast. It's going to hit different. Before, if you stole something or if you ripped off a brand, you knock on a door, it's down. Now you have DEXs, you have anonymous accounts, you have anonymous value transfer worldwide 24/7. They haven't even begun to lift the rock to see all that's crawling underneath. So, brands are going to have to protect themselves, and they can't just rely on the good old, well, I'll hire a lawyer and they'll be taken down. As sexes become backdoor, as they become on the back burner, and you start to see decentralized exchanges offer better features, better service, better all around. I don't know if you've used DEXs these days, but they've come a very long way. Imagine that in 5-10 years, you're going to have these front doors that can't be knocked on. So brands are going to have to get with it and create their own Web3 brands before other people do. And, once these communities start to become very powerful, they have these positive feedback loops where they're not leaking anything to any middle people. It's all self-sustaining, direct to the consumer, peer-to-peer. They start to build up power, and they start to have their own value use cases where, you can say they print. I like to say they create, they mold these tokens and these NFTs into value use cases. And before you know it, they're going to have a lot of power, and you're going to have to recognize them. And that's going to be something that's going to change a lot of the way people look at governments and countries and all of this. As we move into a digital era, what is a country? Well, you have the physical land, right? But what's a digital country? Where are the lines here? Where are the, where are the community? Where are these things going to be drawn? How is this going to work as we start to get a more hands-on internet? Web 2 owns it now. As we start to own it, it becomes real. It becomes tangible. We can mold it, make our own future. We don't have to ask for permission or wait around and have someone else do it. We have the reins, and first time ever in a digital era. So that, really, really cool.
Yeah, so Dan's there talking about how the economies of these things will be self-sustaining and outside of the system. It's ultimately a new paradigm, which will allow people to out of an old paradigm voluntarily if they so choose and move to a new paradigm which has maybe got a more free feel, well, certainly has definitely got the principles of freedom built into it, and just is outside the system where they can't be touched and can't be told what to do. So one of the things that we're looking at is how to make these economies, these community economies, sustainable. We've got a lot of different methods. and we need to create as many sinks as possible. But in this particular case, I'll just quickly mention this one where effectively, if you stake the token of the community, you would then every month mine a certain amount of rare NFTs. So those NFTs, obviously, if they're from a community that's doing something valuable for the world, they become quite important and rare over time, so they can become valuable. So there's lots of ways that you can incentivize communities to hold these currencies and kind of keep them growing over time and turn their economies into growth mechanisms. It's going to be quite an exciting time going forwards, that's for sure. You doing the SIP?
Yeah, I'm going to speed this along. I noticed we only got 10 minutes. When you start to think about these communities, how they become self-sustaining, you really have to, you can't just have a group of people saying, we're going to handle the funds and we're just going to distribute them based on, you know, our whim. You have to have some kind of decentralized exchange that no one has control of. If you think of something similar, you think of the Hive DAO, right? Nobody has control of that. Stake-weighted voting. We have a good token distribution. That means the tokens are going to go out based on where the community feels they should. You take that a step further, and where's the most energy come from a token community? Well, the trading, right? The trading fees. You go to centralized exchanges, you do this and that. Well, if you had a concentrated place where, you know, every time I'm trading here, I'm helping my underlying token. I'm helping the community, because these fees, instead of going to some billionaire's pocket, they're going right back into the community via SIP. They're being locked in there only to concentrate and grow, acting as a sink for the underlying asset. So as you start to mold these things into positive feedback loops, there's no reason to have the trading energy outside of the community, right? There's no reason to have the advertising revenue outside of the community. All these things can be sucked into the community. Now you have a very powerful thing. You have a big following list. You have a lot of large community. You come in, there's a lot of trading going on. You've seen these dexes get into $1 billion 24-hour volumes. You do the math on what kind of fees that will generate. Once the liquidity becomes locked, it adds as a thicker liquidity pool. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more you trade here, the thicker the liquidity books are going to be. Therefore, you get a better deal than you would anywhere else. There becomes a tipping point where why would you go anywhere else? Where this is where the liquidity is. I'm helping my own community, and I'm locking in all of this value all at the same time. So that's a quick rundown of the SIP.
Can I just add there, Dan? Just my view of a SIP is that it's like a turbocharger to a combustion engine. So what you have is a liquidity pool that's backing the community and the ecosystem, and it's receiving funds in for a service from that ecosystem. So for example, in the case of the SPKNetwork, it's people paying into the SIP to receive mining tokens out, and those mining tokens efficiency drops over time based on, you know, a typical physical mining rig where new models come out and they get more efficient. So now there's a demand for people to keep putting money into the SIP to get the latest miner token. And then that money is no longer required for the ecosystem. So as a result, it can be locked into the SIP permanently and create these permanent liquidity pools that grow continuously. And hopefully time it eventually grow big enough to self-sustain the community altogether in terms of the fees being put out of those liquidity pools via trading fees and things like that. So it's super interesting, super exciting, and we're really looking forward to building these into the Hive ecosystem.
Yep.
I'll just quickly add a little bit about peer plays. We took a look around, and Dan was very instrumental in this, in finding a great team of people who are building very similar tech that complement what we're doing on Hive and on the SPKNetwork. And so the peer plays technology effectively allows us to have from what we understand, is the first graphene to graphene connection to external databases and blockchains, so we can start porting things across. Although listening to Yabat Matt talk about FB Slow's technology, we may need to revisit that and see if there's parts of that we can implement in the SPKNetwork as well. So appreciate that, and we hope to speak to you a little bit more on that in the future. Definitely interested in cross-chain swaps. Definitely interested in the ability for people to use non-blockchainified accounts and blockchainified accounts from other blockchains in the SPKNetwork. And this technology will allow people to port their currencies across into the SPKNetwork community and then trade them on DEXs and stake them and do all sorts of things with them inside that ecosystem. So PeerPlays also has a DEX that it's built. And these things are also in testnet right now. So Eddie Spino, and by the way, Eddie, fantastic presentation. Appreciate it a moment ago. We're really fortunate that we work a lot with Eddie, and he's one of the best community members on Hive. And so he's going to put a blog out in the near future about how to get involved in the DEX and test it, and we'll be rewarding people who can prove that they've helped us try to break the DEX and the other test nets that are coming out on peer plays in the near future. So got on there, Hive users have immediate access to everything peer plays has, and hopefully there's the ability to implement some of this into Hive layer 1 as well, because it's a very similar code base. And once it's finished and perfected on peer plays, we're hoping that the core team from Hive will implement some of this into Hive layer 1 as well, and just make it more robust and decentralized. Yeah, and they're saying collaboration, not competition. So I want to give a shout out to peer plays. I'll move on to the next slide because we've run out of time, but that's going to be really exciting going forwards.
Yeah, definitely. Great. Well said. I believe we're on the claim drop.
Talk about the claim drop. Yep.
Yeah. So the claim drop has been announced, and we already have the test net. Everything's going. Just join the SPKNetwork for the test nets. We're going to have all the information that you need there. It's going to be January 6th. It's Hive and Hive Power 1-for-1 snapshot. And then the Q1 2022, it's going to be the monthly claim drop to last over a year, or last exactly a year. And yeah, just every month, you're just going to basically either log into the DApp, or there's going to be a site that you go to and you just click, basically like a tap, like I'm here. And it's going to be super simple. Everyone's going to have access to it. And the unclaimed tokens are going to be voted on by the community where they go. That's going to be Hive Power voting. And yeah, very quick rundown, but we're super excited that we actually got the date down. Testnet is ready. This thing is ready to go. So super excited.
Yeah, January the 6th. Make sure you've got your Hive and Hive Power in your accounts. That drop, and that'll give. Sorry, that's for the Larynx miner tokens. That gives you ability to mine in the ecosystem, and then you'll be able to mine the Speak Governance token when that's released. And we're releasing the Speak Governance token so that the founders, the people that worked on this originally, get 0. We're starting off with 0, and we're going to mine competitively with everyone else because we want to follow that decentralized mindset and be able to provably decentralize our ecosystem. So I'll give a quick shout about the vision. I wanted to do this a bit longer, but we're kind of out of time. But as Dan mentioned before, we're going into kind of decentralized countries. So we've got the old world where everything's controlled by centralized organizations. And in the new world, we're going to have all these decentralized communities that are, if they're built on ecosystems such as Hive and the SPKNetwork, they will be decentralized and they'll be incredibly difficult to regulate as a result, maybe impossible. So it really, the thing that's going to secure these communities is human energy and human interaction on these chains and within these communities. And then the economies of these things should grow because we're going to build in sinks and sustainable economy measures into these, as we discussed with things like mining NFTs and rare memes from the ecosystem, from the communities. And so as a result, you know, my quick summary on a view of the future is that where at the moment we've got 145 entities who can print money and create rules and laws. I think in the future, we have 4,000 or 5,000 significant sized communities that have got, you know, hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands of members that can print their own money and direct their own value between each other. And that is a very leveling force in the future, and hopefully something that promotes freedom more than we see the direction that the world's going at the moment. So to me, it's a big light at the end of the tunnel, this technology, and it's something I'm very, very dedicated to, and I hope it helps a lot of people and empowers a lot of people in the future to live freer lives than they can at the moment. You want to say anything on the vision there, Dan, quickly before we change to the final slide?
Yeah, you want to go ahead and put it on the roadmap while I'm talking, just because there's a minute. Yeah, I mean, first of all, a huge shout out and thank you very much to everyone that stepped up, voted for the SPKNetwork proposal to really bring this to life.
Thank you.
I view Hive, I look at Hive as the immutable table of truth. For the first time, we have something where you can put text in and it won't be removed or tampered with. It's still a baby, it's growing, but we're going to see the implications of that as we move into the future. And I really believe that complementing Hive with the SPKNetwork to incentivize off-chain data, big-time infrastructure, people to run nodes, store video, to bring that true Web3 experience where you have images, text, video, everything you need, and you don't have to rely on any centralized entity to host that for you. That is the dream, that is the goal, to empower humans, to give people the ownership of their attention, their accounts. They're the ones that made these Web2 sites billions and billions and billions of dollars. It's time to funnel that back in to the communities. And, you know, it's at a time where we really, really need it. And we have it, just got to pick up the tools and use them. So I thank you for listening.
Thank you. I just want to say one brief thing on the roadmap. You can see the percentage complete down the side. I won't go into them in detail, but the one at the top, SONs, NFTs, and tokens testnet, those are ready. Bobinson from Peer Plays is doing some final touches, and we're going to start releasing instructions over the next few days on how to go and try and break them. So we're going to be rewarding people for taking part in that, and we hope that you can break them well and give us some good feedback, and then we'll try and make sure we iron out as many of the bugs as possible. So yeah, exciting times. A lot of tangible things are about to start happening in the SPKNetwork. So thank you all for your support. Much appreciated. We'll keep doing our best to roll this decentralized reward system for layer 1 reward system for Web3 out to the Hive community.
Yep.
Ooh,
I'll be sure to
ladies and
stick around
gentlemen.
if anyone has any questions.
That's great. Yeah, that will be really awesome. And guys, exactly in time. Thanks a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for these guys for taking the Hive SPKNetwork to the next level. Whew, thanks a lot, Dan, starkerz. Yeah, so after January the 6th, I can power down, definitely.
What is that thing you're holding and throwing?
I wouldn't want you to do that, but you'll get your larynx tokens.
Okay.
Powering down your Hive, gosh, what a thought.
Gives me shivers.
Joking. Yeah, no, thanks a lot. Looking forward actually to the lyrics, and thanks a lot. Yeah, guys, find starkerz, find Dan in the lobby or around here, but here you can't talk actually because we are on the stage. Thanks a lot, guys, for being here on HiveFest and also for sponsoring the event. Did you already take one of the 3-speak pills just to get ready?
Yeah, we hope you did as well. We hope you did as well, Roland.
Yes.
We look forward to, if you take your miner tokens, we look forward to you staking them in the network and mining a bit of Speak token as well. By providing some infrastructure to the network. So, and guys like you will be for a really good system.
We'll be researching this after the event. Thanks. Yeah, would you be so kind, Matt, to release the presentation? Then I can load up for Schmooms because they are. Thanks a lot, guys. So we do the questions in person because otherwise we are running out of the schedule. Take care and enjoy the